Good evening, and thank you for clicking on my channel once again. So, I just recently watched Lee Cronin's The Mummy. I'm a little behind, but hey, I watched it. So, honest opinion, because that's what I like to try to give. Um, I think it was probably more than what I was expecting. Um, and then I forgot that it's Lee Cronin's, and he did what is it? The yes, Evil Dead Rise. That's what he did, and it definitely gives you Evil Dead Rise. Um, so the premise is the young daughter of a journalist disappears into the desert without a trace. 8 years later, the broken family is shocked when she is returned to them as what should be a joyful reunion turns into a living nightmare. Um, and this is also considered body horror, folk horror, monster horror, supernatural horror, and just good old fashioned horror. You have castmates such as Jack Rayner, he plays Charlie Cannon. Leah Costa, she plays Larissa Cannon. She um, she's the mother slash wife. Charlie is the husband slash father. May Callumway is Detective Dahlia. Natalia Grace plays Katie Cannon. Um, Shiloh Malona, Sebastian Cannon. They call him Seb, which is such a fucking weird, like, whatever. Um, Billy Roy, Maud Cannon, Veronica Falcon, Falcon, Carmen Santiago, Hyatt Camille, she's the magician. Um, May Elati is Layla Kahali. The young version of Katie is Emily Mitchell. I thought she was like a little cutie. Um, and Dean Allen Williams plays young Sebastian. All right, so I'm gonna start off with. Should I start off with positives first or negatives first? Okay, I'll do positives. So positives, I thought it was actually a pretty good movie. It was very, uh, I think more disturbing than I thought it was going to be, but in a good way. Like it was like a really fucked up movie, and again in a good way. I just wasn't expecting um it to be such kind of a gore fest. And again, I forgot Lee Cronin did Evil Dead Rise. Excuse me, I forgot. And yeah, but it all makes sense. He wrote and directed this film. Um, but to be honest with you, it's not your typical mummy film. And again, if you haven't seen this, then you're in for a surprise. But if you already seen it, then you already know. Um, it's like it's more of a possession, demonic type film. Um, Katie, she gets taken by this woman, and they steal her youth, basically, soul, and she's kind of like in a catatonic state, basically, when they do find her. And again, it's been 8 years later. 8 years. Most people probably would have given up, but they did not. The body was found in a sarcophagus, um, and by native people who live in that area. A plane had crashed for whatever reason. Like it, there's things that don't make sense about this movie. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, why was this on a plane? Where were they going with it? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And then it crashed, and there it was. And then they discover it, and then they find out that it's Katie. Um, and I'm even thinking for like the detectives, 8 years again is a pretty long time. Like you still have pictures up of these people. Okay, I mean maybe again, some people were just like, all right, it's a loss. I mean, I'm sorry for your loss, but it's a loss. Um. Anyway, they find her and they come in and everything. They tell them the parents that is say, hey, it's not like your typical daughters. She's been through some shit, and you're gonna have to try to give her the love and caring that she needs. And maybe her being in her room in her house, things might come back to her. She might return to be Katie. She does not. She is definitely not Katie. I mean, she's in there, but the demonic person takes over. And in my mind, I'm just like, why don't you just do an old fashioned exorcist? But then I guess you do have to say these words and kind of reverse it. Or, well, have it go into another body. That's what happens. But yeah, overall, like positive. I thought it was a pretty cool movie. A different take on the mummy. Again, because it's more of a possession type film. And I kind of knew that after watching the trailer because I'm like, this is not your typical mummy film. Um, the only two people that I recognize in this film, which again, it's not a bad thing because it turned out to be a decent film, is Jack Rayner and the one who played the grandmother, which is Veronica Falco. She's been in quite a few things. Everybody else, I'm like not sure who they are, but overall, I think everybody did a pretty good job. Wasn't sold on the detective. She did not give me detective, but again, overall, I thought it was a pretty decent film. Um, I'm like in between an 8 and a 9. It would have been almost a perfect 10, um, if there just wasn't some hiccups in the film. Like, oh, okay, I don't know about anybody else, but if your daughter goes missing, you're not going to leave your kids with said person, daughter. Once she comes back, it's just not, she's not the same person. And yet you'd leave her alone and shit happens. What is wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is wrong with you? Um, but yeah, so what had happened? What had happened in the beginning? Katie, she she goes out and plays. The mom, she goes to work, and the father's left with um, the son and the daughter. The daughter goes out and plays by herself, which I guess in my mind I'm like, okay, this must be a typical thing to do. I know when I grew up, which I grew up in the country. Okay, it was fine to go outside and play. There was nobody around. Like, what was I gonna do? There's no one to take me. So we were comfortable. Like, well, I was just say, I guess my mom was comfortable with me going outside and playing. But I think in a place like where they grew up, I think anything can happen. And I'm just like, you're just gonna let your daughter just roam off and do whatever. So that happens. She's outside, she's playing, and this lady comes up, which is the magician, saying, "Hey, um, sorry Layla can't come and play, but I have some magic to show you." And she does two tricks. She's like, "I guess so. I got one last magic trick." And she does this I don't know what you want to call it, like uh, I had to use the word spell because I don't know what other word to use, but she says some words and a bug crawls out of this apple that she gives her, goes into her mouth, and then she starts choking. Um, Eventually, the bug does crawl out. Um, but so she takes the daughter and goes, and then eventually does um, the ceremonial thing that happens. I think what is it? Every 85 years. I think that's what it was. And um, the innocent, the more innocent the body, the better it is, which anybody will work. Um, and yeah, um, so that happens, and then again, they're trying to go search for her, can't find her. Which did they really look? You know what I'm saying? We don't know because 8 years passes, and then I'm just like, so again, there's there's some things to like complain about. So it's like 2 hours, maybe and some change long. I think it's a pretty long time for a movie like this. There's some things that could have been cut. There's some things that could have um, been de- developed more. Like, how did like 8 years went by so quickly, and yet you're not really showing that you look for your child or even the detective and everything like that. So they ended up moving to New Mexico. Um, the husband, the wife, with mother, father, just like the mother was already pregnant with another kid. So 8 years has passed. So the little boy, which is not so little anymore, is now like a teenager, and a little girl, she's 8, and and now they're like they get the news that Katie has been found, and so they go and get her, and all that, like I said, has been developed, and they bring her home, and then uh things just wasn't the same, and once they find out what had happened, um again they try to like reverse it or put it into another body, which the father then uses his body to get their daughter back, and um yeah, so that happens, and yeah, kind of making that a long story short, which could have easily been done. But my question is, you what happens in the beginning? So you see the kids Of course, you see what happens to the father, but then it's like, what happened to the kids? Like, you do see the daughter, but the two boys. I'm like, what happened to them? No explanation on that. Then it just jumps into this family, which is cool, which is what it's about. Um, and I don't know. There's some things that just wasn't really explored or explained. So, like I said, there's ups and downs. Um, the pro acting was good. Um, the body horror was top notch. Like again, it definitely gives Evil Dead Rise. Um, I think a great horror film. In my opinion, there were some things that kind of made me like cringe in a way because I don't like sound effects with the mouth. Um, where she was just like with her teeth, and then I already knew automatically she's doing Morse code because she was as a kid she was doing Morse code with her father. I'm like, dude, she's trying to tell you something, and he caught on eventually. Um, and what else? Um, and what was also giving Evil Dead Rises the situation with the siblings and the grandmother. So, like I say, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, check it out. And if you've seen Evil Dead Rise, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think the con two cons for me is the situation with the parents. I'm like, where are you guys at when shit is going on? Like, come on. Like you've already had a situation with Katie, and now other shit is going down. Come on, come on. And then just exploration with throughout the movie. Like some things just wasn't explained. But overall, like I said, pretty decent movie. I don't know. I think I might do like a 8.5 for this movie. Um, let's see. I think overall, like it's giving like a 6.4. Oh, like throughout the board. Let's check out some reviews, shall we? So close to be great. They give it a 7 out of 10. Lee Cronin's The Mummy takes a different approach to a familiar monster, leaning fully into horror rather than action or adventure. It is arguably one of the strongest attempts to a true horror focused take on the character. Totally agree. The film builds tension effectively, maintaining a steady sense of unease for most of the runtime. However, the final stretch introduces a few questionable choices that disrupts the momentum. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. The ending in particular feels unnecessary and slightly undercuts what came before. Performance are a major strength. Natalia Grace delivers an unsettling and physically committed performance as Katie. Totally agree. Using subtle movements and expressions to create a deeply uncomfortable presence. Billy Roy also stands out, bringing a personality and an energy that helps anchor the film. The practical effects applied to Katie are a highlight, with detailed work on her teeth, skin, and her freaking nails adding to the horror. Yes, those nails were. Um, some of the larger visual elements, particularly landscapes and environmental effects, are less convincing. The film's soundtrack and song choices are effective, adding to the overall tone, with a memorable track from Sharma Sharmafours standing out. I don't know who that is, but okay. It's not a perfect film, but it's a strong and refreshing take on the mummy mythos. I would totally agree, but I think again overall, because again, it's not your typical mummy film. Um, but for something creative and giving it like, I guess, a new spin, a new take on it. I mean, I'm giving like a eight, 8.5. But yes, as the he or she, oh, it's a he, as he is saying, like there's some things that were questionable. I would definitely agree on the ending. Um, but yeah, overall, I'm like acting was superb. Um, yeah. Let's go with the next one. Um, this one gives it a 6. Lee Cronin's The Mummy has all the scares and gore you could ask for after his Evil Dead Rise movie, but it ultimately falls short with its story. It just doesn't. It didn't find it very compelling, and the characters weren't interesting at all. I disagree with the characters, but the story was eh. This film has many scenes that don't make any sense logically. The funeral scene in particular really irked me. The movie also has barely anything to do with the title, and just a worse Evil Dead film with a mummy skin on it. Like I mentioned earlier, the gore and bloody scenes are very well done for the most part, especially the toenail scene because it was just gnarly, man. But the gross out stuff does get a point in the film whether it becomes redundant. The third act is right about where I started to check out, to be honest. Overall, I'd recommend checking it out. Like myself, it didn't do much for me, but I'm sure there will be fans out there for it. Um, let's see. This one gives it an 8. Not the adventure you remember this time, the horror actually means it. Lee Cronin doesn't revive the mummy, he shapes it. Gone is the fun, blockbuster energy. What you get instead is something darker, tighter, and far more unsettling. The version leans into horror without hesitation. The tension builds slowly, the atmosphere stays heavy, and when it hits, it doesn't pull back. It's less about spectacle and more about discomfort, and that shift works more often than it doesn't. That said, it's not perfect. Fans expect the charm and adventure of older version might feel disconnected. The pacing can also feel a bit restrained at times, but almost is holding back from going full chaos. Final verdict: not here for the nostalgia, here to remind you why the story was scary to begin with. Yeah, totally agree with that. And um, I I think when people okay, so like Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, great adventure film. Of course, when they did, I think the last one, what was it, Jet Li? Okay, that kind of just went off rails, but those are pretty cool. They're cool films. Okay, but when most people think of The Mummy, I think they want to go back to like old school black and white Mummy. And I think we need to kind of go back to that era. The Invisible Man. They did a um what do you want to call it? Like a reboot, reimagining, whatever you want to call it, of that. Wasn't bad. I mean, there's some things they could have like perfected in that, but overall, the film was pretty good. And I think we need to get back to that. We need, you know, to bring these old classics alive and somehow make them better. I mean, we have the technology. We have I feel like everything that you can possibly ask for to make a good monster film. Um, and I'm just like, where is it at? Where are they? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, overall, I thought the film was cool. Great horror. Again, that's what we need in these films. Um, just the story could have been shaped a little bit better and been shortened a bit. But yeah, anyway, if you haven't checked it out, please do so. I think you'll enjoy it if you like um, horror and Evil Dead Rise. But if you did, if you already seen it, let me know what you think about it. Comment down below. And see you next time. All right. Bye.